So now if we go to the view here, and make it go through, it's going to go through the path there. And you can also, if you wanted to, on the fly, if you were to grab the curve, go to Control Vertex, you can even do a little bit of adjustment that way in order to get some more subtle or some more dramatic move, depending on what you're trying to do. So that's another easy way of doing some camera move that way. Let's get rid of this camera again, and I'm going to show you one other thing. So I'm going to delete that camera, and I'm going to make that curve disappear. And I have another curve here that I did. Oops. And let's go to here. This is just a curve, and this is going to cause me problems, but I want to show you what it's going to do. So I'm going to create another camera here, and it's going to come in at 0, 0, 0. And before I do anything to that camera, I'm going to do a little trick that I like to do, and I'm going to go Control G, and I'm going to group that camera. And what that does, and if you look here in the outliner, what that did is it attached a null node to that camera. It basically parented this keyable node, this group, to the camera. And so right now I'm moving the group and the camera is following with it. I can also select the camera, and the camera I can move out of the way, but the group stays there. But I want to keep the group and the camera together. I'm going to select the group, I'm going to select the curve, shift select the curve, and I'm going to animate motion path and attach the group to the motion path. Okay, I can also rename the group too. If you want to call this cam control, if it seems better, that would work as well. So now the group, or the camera control, is now attached to the curve, and if I move the camera, it's moving the camera along the path using that camera control group. Now I can also go into the camera inputs here, and I can change the orientation of that. Let's just make it 180. So it's facing these objects here. Let's go to here and make that camera view, and camera settings, a resolution gate. So this is what the camera is seeing. And let's just move through, and I'm going to show you what's going on. So now you're seeing what's going on. This is why you have to be careful about the kind of curve that you're making. But let's just say that there was an object here, and you wanted to get past it, and you wanted to move it through here, and the camera needs to maneuver through this group here, and it's going to have this weird orientation that you're going to have a hard time controlling. And so that's why I put the group on. So let's just go here, and I'm going to select the camera, not the group. The group is moving through the motion path there. But what I can do is I can still keyframe the camera. So I have the camera selected, it's separate from the group, and I'm going to just position or aim the camera itself that's not attached, so I can have a whole separate level of keyframing. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go to the end, keyframe it at the beginning and the end, and let's just see how it looks. And let's just kind of see how this is working. It disappears here, and then it goes by there, and it's going to look funky. It's just definitely, there's not really much you can do. But my suggestion is that you just keep those keyframes very few, far and few between. So I'm going to go here, and let's just go to the point where it goes off there. I'm going to keyframe it where it stays. I'm going to keyframe it where it stays, and there. So I want to keyframe it around here. And there we go. So let's just see what this looks like. It's not going to look pretty, I'm telling you, because this is where it gets very, yeah, it's going to do something real funky there. One thing I'm going to do now, if we look at our graph editor and just look at the curves here, you notice that the curves are all kind of angular and not smooth. So I'm going to go in my timeline here. I'm going to shift select, it's going to be red. I'm going to shift select all of my keyframes in here, and I'm going to go tangent, spline, and that smoothed out all of my keys there. So let's just take a look and just see if that made it any better. It probably made it a little better. Not great. But let's just look at that, and let's just look and see what this is going to look like. Now, I knew this was going to be problematic, and this is why I did this. I wanted to show you kind of some of the problems that you're going to run into doing camera moves. That's why I really recommend not doing complicated camera moves like this, because it's going to run into problems, and you can spend many hours just trying to smooth that out, and it's just going to keep adding keyframes and keyframes, and it's just going to get real messy. One more thing before we kind of wrap this up, I'm going to get rid of this camera here, and I'm going to show you a couple of other little camera tricks. And let's make that curve. Let's make that curve invisible. And I'm going to show you one other. There's a couple of other cameras that we have as well. Let's go to Create, and let's go to Camera with Aim. Now, what this does, now camera with aim is not very, it's going to be problematic positioning one of these on a motion path. I've never had good luck, but you can do some pretty cool simple camera moves with the camera and aim. And let's just open up the outliner so you can see what's happening. So this created a camera group. So I have a camera group, and I can position this whole group around like that. And what this does is it also gives me an aim. And what this aim is, let's get a little closer, is just a goal, or it's just a null object that's parented, and the camera is always going to follow that aim that you have positioned there. So you can either keyframe the aim, or you can also move the camera, and the camera is always going to stay pointed at that goal there. So let's just take a look and see if we can do some camera move. Let's go camera 1 and camera settings, resolution gate. Let's minimize that for now, and let's just move the camera. So I'm going to start at frame 1 like that, and let's just keyframe it at frame 1. Let's keyframe it at frame 50. Keyframe it at frame 100. And let's go frame over here just to see what we can do. Now again, let's just see what it does. Now it's going to be angular. It's not going to be a smooth looking. It's going to go in and out like that. And again, you can go through and you can change your tangents out here to tangents to spline. That'll smooth it out a little bit. But it's going to definitely aim it, but you're doing a circular motion like this is going to give you a little bit of a crazy look. One other thing you can also do if you want to do like a circular motion around objects like this is I'm going to just create another camera here. So I'm just going to create a regular camera like that, and I'm going to pull it out like so, and let's just make it perspective camera 2. So this is the new camera here, and let's just pull it out like that. So I'm going to show you a little fun trick that I like to do. So I have this camera selected like that, and I'm going to press either insert or D, and I'm going to keep the D button down, and that's going to change my manipulator widget. That was hard to say. It's going to change it to this different looking widget, and I'm going to bring it forward, and what this does is it changes the pivot point of my object. So now this is where the pivot point is. It's out here. So wherever I move the object, it's going to be centered here. If I were to go to the rotate tool, watch what it does. So I can go here, I can keyframe it there, and I'm going to keyframe it there, and just look and see. Oops, wrong one. Let's just see what this animation looks like. So now I do a very smooth circular move here just by changing the pivot point. You can only change the pivot point once, and you can't change it during animation. That's just kind of a very, it's a warning that once you move the pivot point, you can't move it back again. That's why it's a good idea if you were to do something like this. You know, you can create a camera like so, and you can actually group it. So I'm going to put a group there, and I'm going to move the group out like so, and then I'm going to change the pivot point on the group if I press the D key down. So now I have a rotate tool on this camera here, but then the camera itself is centered on its own axis. So that gives me, I can move the camera in a more precise way, leaving for a specialized view. So one of the things to think about is to group or to parent objects to your cameras to make camera moves a little bit more efficient and easier. I know I went through that very, very fast. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to go over this in more detail, but this is just kind of showing you a brief overview, or just a kind of a broad overview of some camera moves. Again, keep it simple and make your camera moves very simple and straightforward, and you should have a very satisfying animated camera that way.